Hey everyone, how are you doing today? All right, we're going to get into the images. Now, the leaves became the heroes today, and this was the first one that made me realize I needed to move away from the lilacs and focus on the leaves. I just could not get the shoot right. I couldn't get any images that I liked that were the actual lilacs that I was shooting. So in this case, here's another one. The leaves actually were starting to look more beautiful to me, and it was high noon. It was really sunny, and I think that's part of the reason why the blossoms weren't looking as pretty as I wanted them to look. They just weren't as magical, and yet the leaves, popped out at me. And then I went over to an oak tree next door to the lilacs and started to play with those leaves as well. And just the sort of the cacophony of it, the merging of all these leaves together flowing, and they were whipping around. And I'll show you the behind the scenes here in a second. But the backlit veining is always a huge hit with me at high noon. And so when you look at these images and you see that delicate veining that's happening here in the leaf portion, it's just so pretty. I just love it so much. So let's go into the behind the scenes so we can see how this all came about. So I was shooting the lilacs and they just were not really thrilling me. These lilacs have a beautiful white border, and I thought, well, hey, maybe this will be pretty. And you can see here I was starting to get bored with it and started to move over to the leaves, and I thought, well, we'll just see if there's anything interesting over here. And I try not to move my feet. I try to shoot anything I possibly can without moving my position to give myself the best chance of finding something pretty. It caught my eye originally, and I think it's just, these almost look like little mouths that were coming out, the little buds before they open, or the blossoms before they open, they look like little mouths, almost like Little Shop of Horrors almost. And I just couldn't, but then I came over here and I was like, you know what? That's beautiful. I love this. Oh, look at this. This is awesome. So I kept right on going, looking to see if I could make something of these lilacs. I was kind of determined, like a dog with a bone. I really wanted to make something pretty, but I was having trouble. I'm going to be honest. And sometimes the light and the stars just don't align. You're not getting what you like. And sometimes the blossoms, like in this case, they were a little bit spent. And I like it either to be really spent, so you're looking at the beauty of the decay, or really fresh and new, and I just couldn't get there. So then I walked, literally, you can see nothing here because I'm walking to the oak tree, which is right next door to the lilac. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to shoot these leaves because I could catch the backlit veining happening, and you can see how fast they're moving. The leaves are really winding and twisting and just floating, and so that I'm using wide focus so that it can just try to capture whatever. And I have a pretty high key scene here. I like the light and airy color of the autumn leaves preset in the camera. I'm using autumn leaves color creative style in the Sony camera, and I love that. And I have lower saturation and lower sharpness and lower contrast. And the screen recorder kind of has a low res preview there that you're seeing. It's not recording my LCD screen at the highest resolution. But anyway, you can see how fast everything was moving. And I just kind of stuck with it until I felt like I had something good. And I did. In the bright sun, it's a little bit hard to see, but I just love these shapes, and they seemed almost kind of ghostly, and the bokeh was really pretty. So I sort of settled on this particular leaf and shot off a bunch of frames, and now we're going to look at the editing portion of it. This was definitely hard. As I went through the images, as you can see in the video, the pullback video, I just didn't get anything that I really liked. And I was looking at it thinking, well, it could be the light time of day. It could be that the sun was really bright, so it was hard for me to see where my focus was going. But then I came to this image and I felt like, oh, okay, I can do something with this. And it really had nothing to do with the lilacs. It had to do with the way the light was coming in, and then this little backlit leaf over here. And I liked the chaos with the little organization. So that jumped out at me as being a possibility. And then you saw that I kind of shot around, looking at different lilacs, and nothing that I shot felt good. It just felt icky. And then I got to these and I thought, oh, well, those are kind of neat. The leaves are really pretty. So then that was a keeper. And as I went through, I thought, oh, I'll keep trying. And these just look like little gaping mouths. They weren't pretty. And, they just felt like little monsters kind of like reaching out to bite you. I don't know. Nothing I did felt good. But then I went over to the oak tree, which was next to the lilacs, and I started to see that there were these leaves that were backlit in the bright noon sun, and I thought, you know what, this is kind of pretty. And as I went through, I found ones that really spoke to me, and I thought, you know what, I think this might be where I need to be. This might be where I can stay. And so really when it comes to editing leaves, there's not a lot that I do. I can adjust the green. That's something I can do. But these are straight out of the camera, shot with autumn leaves, which is the color creative style in Sony cameras. And then I lower the saturation and I lower the contrast. And I lower sharpening as well, but it's the color science or the color recipe of autumn leaves. And so I just can take it into post here and then grab my brush and put some texture on it and then intensify what the camera already got. I'm not really trying to change a whole lot. I'm just trying to refine and finish what the camera captured. And so I decided that this was sort of where I wanted to be with it, which is, it's kind of ironic in a way. I mean, you'd think that I'd want to work harder at something, but the reason I shoot with that picture style is that I often love the color palette right out of camera. So that was another final that I liked. And then this was the one that I really loved, and it was, let's see, there was two. One, and I think, and two, and I believe that which one was a little sharper? I think this one was a little bit sharper. So I just take again that texture brush, make it smaller because it's pretty huge for the size of the leaf, and then just run it over here. And then maybe grab some whites and intensify that a little bit. And that's about it. I mean, there's not really anything else I'd want to do to the image. It just feels like this little magical corner of contrast in all the chaos. And this is really kind of a good picture of how this shoot went. Nothing was working right, and I felt pretty frustrated. But then I settled on this, and I thought, well, that's awesome. This shows the chaotic mess I was dealing with. It wasn't feeling good. And then this was like, okay, I have something. So really with editing, just a little bit of contrast and a little bit of brushwork with texture and maybe whites or highlights to boost the contrast even more. And that's it. Sometimes the leaves win out. Sometimes the leaves are better. And I like this one better. So same thing here. Just grab some whites and some texture and just emphasize what's happening right there. And maybe down here. And that's it. Oh, maybe that's not it. Maybe a little contrast. Like that. And that's the final. Sometimes the leaves are better. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.